I'm not. I can't afford to not record. Welcome to season 6 of the Be Your Own Kind podcast, where we believe that you deserve the space to just be. I'm so excited to share another season with you, packed with fresh perspectives, practical tools, and inspiration to enhance your already amazing self. I hope you enjoy the new content just as much as I've loved bringing it to you. Stay inspired and always remember to be your own kind. Hey, Rich, how are you today?
And then yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for being a guest.
Absolutely, it's a privilege.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's always for me, I feel like I'm more privileged because I get to learn like from different people, different perspectives and take a little nugget from me each and every time, which I know the listeners do as well. So
Yes.
thanks for being a part. Can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm a mental health recording artist. I'm also an author and a spoken word artist. My mission really in life is to bridge the gap between music and mental health and to remind other people of their self-worth.
I love that because there's a lot of people that don't even know what that is
Yes.
or if they're even worth anything. So I think
Yes.
that's
Mm,
incredible. Yeah, like
thank you.
what prompted you to like for that to be your subject? Was it this is this something personal to you or
Yes, no, that's a great question. Because to be honest, cyberbullying really opened me up into the mental health realm. And early on, when I was first putting out my music, facing really harsh criticisms online, especially social media, I was, I guess I was subjected to a lot of those destructive comments, and I ended up spiraling because of the fact that I internalized a lot of the stuff that people were saying, and I didn't know how to detach people's opinions of my music versus me as an individual, because my music has been very personal to me and I never identified myself outside of the music space. So in regards to my mental health advocacy, it was because of me being cyberbullied online, where I had to kind of in a sense fight for my purpose and my self-worth, because at the end of the day, I was in a space where I was allowing the people who were saying negative things about my music. I allowed it to take precedence over my life, and I ended up spiraling into a really deep depression.
oh wow, because it's easy to I feel like cyberbullying is probably the easiest kind of bullying to do because you can hide behind the keyboard, and it's a lot of faceless people. They don't even have their face on, on their profile, and they can just sit and they can just criticize. But it takes a lot of courage to be you and express yourself, and I think people minimize the amount of courage it is that for artists to come out and give them a piece of themselves, and humanity is just flushed down the toilet, in my opinion, when it comes to people in certain artistry.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so I'm so sorry that happened to you. However, now you're a voice for those that have experienced the same thing you have.
Yes, exactly. So it's like one of those things. Like it's like a two-edged sword, in regards to, like, I'm grateful because my music has so much more power and so much more purpose, because I've been through that, and now I'm able to speak to those, like you said, that have been through the same struggles. And without that experience, there's no way I'll be able to relate to those people. No way.
Right. Right. So in a way it's like you're not happy it happened, but in a sense
Yes.
of being a beacon of light. Like
Yes.
it's one of them catch
Yes.
22.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like, yeah, one of those win-win situations where it's like, yeah, it did, cause a lot of, emotional turmoil, and a lot of, times where I just didn't want to be here, to now I'm like, I have purpose, and I'm able to share my story in hopes, and hopes that it will really help, heal other people and save their lives.
Yeah, that's dope. I love that. And so you recently wrote a mental health poetry book entitled From Victim to Victor: Transforming Trauma into Triumph. So I do have a question. What was your inspiration behind this book? Was it something beyond what we spoke of that prompted you to write this book?
Yes, the inspiration behind this book was one inspiration was Steve Ryan. He was a person that I was in cahoots with. He's also a fellow author as well.
Mm,
I met him through a music virtual program that I took 4 years straight, and this his story of like, you know, going through with issues with, with love, and issues with, his self-esteem, and issues with depression. And he talked a lot about depression in his poetry book, and I'm like, wow. I looked at him as someone who was like inspiration, like he, you know self-made, in the sense of like, he was working for himself, and it was like he was so successful in my eyes. And I was like, wow, like I didn't know someone in my eyes seemed so successful was going through so much. And it inspired me to give myself, in a sense, the permission to write my own mental health story, because a lot of the time, most times, I was holding back because, one, I didn't want people to see me as vulnerable. Like I didn't want people to see me, in that space where, oh, he was going through suicide. Like I didn't want people to judge me. So that's the reason why I kept a lot of the stuff in, because I'm like, oh wow, someone's gonna say this about me, then how am I gonna react to that comment? I feel less than. So he really inspired part of the book. Another part of the book was inspired by, unfortunately, my mentor, um that I had a close personal relationship with, professional actually, who really helped me in my music career. Her and I had a really um interesting dynamic, and a falling out during the pandemic, and it involved in mental abuse, and I ended up at that time spiraling, and then also almost committing suicide during that time. And I speak about it in my book, to kind of like shed light of like, this is narcissism, abuse is real. And I wanted people to, hear some of my story through my poetry, and how I was able to use tools like journaling, motivation, and things like that, and books, to really fast track my healing, and also embrace community. I took a lot about my self worth journey in regards to the cyberbullying, and also how I was able to also navigate those dark spaces. So a lot of this book is me healing from those things, and learning that I'm able to forgive, and also be able to change the narrative, because that's really my purpose of the book, is to change the narrative from victim to victor, transforming trauma into triumph. The reason why I named it that also is because I want people to know, like, they don't have to be a victim to their circumstances. Like they can change their narrative. They don't have to live by the old playbook. They could rewrite their own script, so that they could step into their purpose and their power.
I love that. I love that. And I feel like mental health is digested different, like based on culture. When especially in the black community, when you speak of suicide or mental health, it's almost kind of like pointed back at you, like it's something wrong with you because you feel that way, or you don't want to be here anymore, and really it's just, and it makes you not want to talk about it. I love what you said. Like, I was afraid to be vulnerable because I didn't know
Yeah.
how I would be received. And that's the stigma that I feel need to be removed, period. Because a lot of people, I feel, would be here today if they had that space to just say, look, I'm feeling like I don't want to be here anymore. And somebody just sitting there and taking out the time and just listening, and not making them feel like it's something wrong with them, like they're
Yes.
defective because they feel that way, because that is a natural emotion that people feel,
Yes,
you know
absolutely.
so to know that they're not alone, I feel like that makes a grave difference. So books like this helps people to feel like they're not alone. So I love that.
Yeah, thank you. That was like really the key to me even getting it out was the fact that like I knew my story in my poetry was, here to serve someone else. And then it was a struggle with that also because, I made it about me. It was my story. It needs to be perfect and no mistakes. And it was just like I was so you know, absorbed, and it was like I was just like on this egocentric type of vibe. And I'm like, I got to the point where I'm like, man, if I don't just get this out, like this is gonna kill me. Cause I spent so many years, and people don't even know, like this book was like 3 years in the making.
Mm.
And it was like I was just like back and forth, like this thinking of like, oh my goodness, don't put this out there, or and there's all the things, the mental like warfare in my head. And I'm like, no, I'm like, if I don't put this out there, man, like how is that person gonna get through? Like I always thought about my poetry as service to other people who needed to hear it the most. So I'm like, and I was like, I'm doing myself a disservice by not putting it out there. So I said, you know what? I had to let it go. Cause I was like this. I was like, oh, I want it to be so perfect. I don't want it to be look a certain way. And it's like, yeah, there's imperfections in the book, and it's like I'm still proud of it because at the end of the day, it's still my story, and
Right.
no, spelling error or grammatical error will deter, my story, or make it seem like it's any less than. It's like no, it's still my story at the end of the day, and it's still my soul, and my desire is that it brings people this hope.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's such a four-letter word, but it's huge. It's huge, and it I think it's the rope that keep you holding on, like knowing like this is temporary. Like I feel like when a situation is hopeless, it's like, nah, I ain't having it. But when you got the little the little inch or that little light at the end of the tunnel, it's like, okay, I could do another minute. I could do another day. Like I feel like hope is so important because I feel like people that have hope take it for granted that everyone don't have that. They don't have that friend they can connect with. They don't feel understood, and for those that feel that way, it's like, well, what's wrong with you? And it's like, I don't know what that feels like. I don't even know what hope is. And so that's why I love the fact that nowadays it is so many resources out there that kind of give people that little rope to just hold on just a little bit longer and help them realize that it's temporary, and it's not a permanent feeling or emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and I'm grateful that there's so many, because I've been in places um where I was have a conversation with people, especially men, and one person was like, I've been to spaces, and it's just not safe to say how I feel. And it's like, and
Mhm.
that automatically, it disheartens, it's very disheartening to hear that there's certain places that are not safe for men to just be open about their demons and their mental health. And I'm also grateful for spaces that are, receptive to it, because at the end of the day, I believe that a lot of people struggle with mental health, and also um are desperate to find community, find those people that are willing to, like you said, be that ear to hear. Because honestly, holding things in, I would say, really, I wouldn't even be here because of the fact that I had tapped into so many communities to hold space for me, especially when I couldn't hold space for myself. So
Mhm.
what you're saying is really resonating with me a lot, because it really reminds me of the reason why I'm doing it. Even not only with the book, but with my music, and just continuing to honor that, like, this is a real subject, and I'm gonna continue to talk about it, because it doesn't matter if it's mental health day or not. It's still important. It's still affecting a lot of lives, and unfortunately, there's still people committing suicide on a daily basis. So, if I'm not here to to be that catalyst for change, then I shouldn't even be here, because my purpose is to be able to provide a hope, and remind people of their self-worth, because I needed to hear that when I was going through my darkest struggles.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned support a little bit. So who has been part of your support system, and what role have they played in helping you navigate your mental health journey?
Yes, I'm grateful for my family, because there was a time where, even during the pandemic, where I blacked out. I was internalizing a lot of the stuff that people were saying again about my music, and I just, like, for some reason, I just blanked out, and I nearly committed suicide in front of my sister. So my family's been really, like, my lifeline, really, to be able to navigate those spaces. Also, tapping into a therapist, you know has really been a game changer for me, and being able to not only process that, but also, regulate, some of my emotions, and figure out different coping strategies to be able to not, succumb to those dark, thoughts and things like that, or suicide ideation. So that's been really key for me. That's been really, um also my friends, my online Zoom friends, community, they pour into me. I was in a community, where Eric Thomas, who's a motivational speaker, I was a part of his motivational, accountability, group. And the people in that community, they were always pushing me, always keeping me accountable, always checking in, and also my music community that, my mentor had, facilitated. That community was always pouring into me. There was a couple of people during also the pandemic that were just, like, hours and hours they gave of their time, willing to just hear me out. And that's so important, because I'm like, if I sit with these demons too long, man, I don't even know where I'll be. So, it's always been communities, online, family, therapists, all that combined. It's really been such a game changer in my life.
I love that. And you said something so important. Like sometimes you don't even need the advice or the soapbox. It's sometimes just someone just listening,
Yes,
just
yes,
listening,
yes,
or even somebody sitting in silence with you. If you just sitting on the couch quiet with no words, and they're just sitting there. They're just sitting there holding your hand. It's not a. It doesn't always have to be a big production. Sometimes it's
yeah,
just that for me, the little
yeah.
things, you know. So, support system is so important, and I feel like the dangers of depression, anxiety is the isolation, right?
Mm, yes,
Because then
yeah.
it just gives your mind like all the space to think all the things, and
Mm,
it
yeah,
gives you all the like all the limiting beliefs that's popping up. You're believing it because you don't have anyone combating it or saying no, that's not true. It's all real and true the more you isolate yourself. And I feel like even though that's like one of those things that I just want to say that I've suffered from depression and anxiety, so I totally get this. This is why I'm saying this. I feel like when you're in a depressive or an anxious state, the first reaction is nobody gets it. So, and I don't want to burden the people with
mm-hmm.
this. Everybody
Yes.
got their own stuff. Making
Mm-hmm.
excuses, and the further you isolate
Yes.
yourself, the worse it actually gets. And so,
Yes.
I do love the fact that you're saying, if it wasn't for my community, I honestly don't know, what state I would be in. And so I love the fact that you tapped into your community and you allowed, because another thing is being open to the help. Always there's another part of it. Well, I got it. It'll brush off. It'll go away, and you have to come to that point where you're like, no, I think I need help. So it's being open to the help and searching out the help and being receptive to that help as well. So I love that. I know that you do music as part of your healing process as well. Is that how you started off in the healing process with music, or how did your music journey begin?
Yes, the music, yes, backtrack, right? So, I really got into, I was really into writing, journal writing, when I was, let's say, middle school, high school. And this, for me, journaling and writing about my day was, for some reason so cathartic that I was just like, oh wow, I can do something with this. And I ended up just experimenting, with like poetry, and then I just ended up writing little raps. Like it was just like kind of like I just felt like it was just like second nature to me. Like writing has been always something that's been very, I don't know, freeing for me
Mhm.
and fun. So, I just explored that curiosity early on. And I ended up just, running with it. I said, hey, let me start writing little raps and stuff. I didn't know it would become, like I'll like be like on a rapper. Like I really wanted to just be a journalist. I didn't even think like rap was something, to be honest, I was in a career field. Years back I would be like, rap me, no way. I wanted to be like a writer. I wanted to be a writer. And it's funny, with a book out, you know what I mean? So it's turned full circle for me, and I'm writing my own songs. So yeah, I think the whole thing of writing has been such a key factor in my healing journey. And also, I when I first started, I got introduced to a studio, um, a local studio where I ended up recording my first uh EP, and then which was 2015. And then after that I ended up taking audio engineering um during that afterwards, and just expanding my musicality. And then also after that I ended up recording in that school, the audio engineering school. And then I ended up just, stockpiling my material, releasing singles, and really working on my craft behind the scenes. And years later, I ended up still just jumping into different spaces, different studios, and just kind of just like finding different spaces, finding people to collaborate with. I found a music rap coach, so I ended up just kind of like exploring ideas of collaborations with people in my school,
Mhm.
music school. And I just kind of, and I immersed myself in my music program, which is like a 4 year um well, it was pretty much a music program designed to work with seasoned writers in the industry. So I ended up taking that class really for 4 years straight, and that really opened my eyes to um the whole musicality thing of like writing hooky songs, and being a more polished songwriter, and really honing in on my craft. So I did a lot of these things to help elevate my game. And I ended up evolving into I ended up doing branching off into do spoken word stuff too. So it's just a lot of the stuff was just kind of like me branching out, saying, oh no, I can do something with this, or this is serving a different part of me and my soul. Like, let me do this. Even with the book, okay, this is serving a different part of me, let's do a book. So a lot of this stuff has been something like I always been like trying to reach new heights with my creativity. And I just found ways to really use my creativity as a outlet of like expressing myself, to so I don't have to like feel like I'm like dealing with it, with it so heavily, because I
Mhm.
was able to like write it out and process, especially during the pandemic where I had all the time in the world to just be there, and write. And, a lot of the songs that I wrote were really healing because I was going through mental abuse at the time too. And I was just like freestyling a lot of my ideas, and all of those stuff really helped me process a lot of the stuff I was going through, because I didn't even know like a lot of the stuff, it felt like unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was another outlet essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think, did we talk about other tools and practices that helped with your healing?
One thing really we did not. One thing that did
Okay,
help
let's touch on
was besides the journaling and writing, which was a big deal for me.
it.
I ended up what was really important for my healing which I did mention slightly, was therapy, because I had someone who was a professional, who is in the field of mental health, and they were able to help me process what I was going through in a way that I never knew that was possible for me, because I
Mm-hmm.
had this limiting belief of like, I'm like you said, defective, there's something wrong with me, I'm not enough, and all those times I was just like, man, like, thinking I was the biggest joke or biggest failure in life. And it turned out that there was so much things within me, as far as like my self-worth, that self-esteem issues that needed to be processed with someone. Also, this even the whole thing of like forgiving, my
Mm.
mentor, from with the mental abuse stuff, because I was like, I had a life coach, to get me through some of those stuff too, because I'm like, man, I'm like, a lot of the stuff, it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, and then I was thinking like, man, is this happening really to me? Like, but then I realized like, no, it's happening for me, because now it's serving other people. But at the time, I didn't even think so. I was just like, man, like, I feel like a victim. I feel like crap. And I'm like, with the therapy, it helped me really process not only how I was feeling, but um how to come out on the other side of it, which is the reason why I um titled my EP "I'm on the Other Side of Mental Abuse," because there was another side of it. There was like a light at the end of the tunnel, because I was finally able to say, I forgive this person. I'm not gonna let it hold me back, and I need to set me free before anything else. And it really helped me not hold on to all that resentment, anger that I had for her while I was going through mental abuse. So that was this healing itself. I was even doing a lot of motivation. I had like whether it was like a motivational song, or just like David Goggins, who's a motivational speaker. Eric Thomas, also a motivational speaker. I used to listen to on repeat just to get me through it, just to
Mm.
change my mindset. And I would do sometimes 2, 3 times a day, whether I was like walking to work, or whether it was I was in the cab, or whether I was in the shower, like every single moment I had something on, to just like, okay, this too shall pass. Okay, cool. Like, one step at a time, just to remind me, like, I'm not a victim, and I am victorious. And it just really
Yes.
changed my mindset, because at the time, with all those inner demons telling me I'm not enough, and I was able to combat it with something more positive. I was taught to reaffirm my affirmations. I worked with a life coach, which was key too in my healing. Her name is Tanisha Sass. I worked with her for about a couple months on, and she helped me process a lot of my rage, anger towards a person who helped me when I wanted to commit suicide, which was so hard for me. Like, the person that helped me get out of a dark space, I'm I'm resenting her. And I was
Mm.
like, man, I'm like, I don't want to feel like this. Like, she really helped me like get through it. And and I know we ended up having a falling out. And I'm like, man, she helped me so much. Like, she showed me the narcissism video that really helped bring light to me. She helped me be brave enough to address my mentor and say, hey, this is not okay, I don't tolerate this no more. Like, she really gave me like kind of the courage and the boldness to be able to approach her in that regard, because I was ashamed and I was scared, and I revered her because she helped me with my career, my mentor. And I was tolerating it for so long, and I'm like, I had to put a stand. I had to like draw, a stand in the line and say, I'm taking back my life. I'm taking back my power, and she helped me do that. So I'm so grateful for my coach, because she was like, man, you need to not hold on to this anger, because the other person's living their life and you still holding on to it, and that's what really was like, ah. for me, that really hit me home at home, and I'm like, you know what, you're right. It's not it doesn't do good for me or the people I'm meant to serve. So I just ended up tapping into that, and it was just like my whole life shifted, my whole perspective shifted. It was like, wow, it was like, it felt like culture shock for me. It was just like one of those moments where I was like really in a space where I was, able to see, the benefits of having someone who is his expertise is mindset.
Yeah, yeah. And forgiveness, we always think forgiveness is for the other person. It's definitely for us.
That's right.
Once we let go and free, it's that other person, whatever they're feeling, is none of our business. But forgiving someone is definitely for yourself. So, because most time we forgive people that never actually apologize. I don't know if that, that happens for you, but it's like
Yes.
accepting the fact of this person is never, especially if you were dealing with a narcissist.
Yes.
That's hard to get an apology out of a narcissist. So it's almost like I was not almost like you definitely have to forgive without even accept getting the apology ever. And
Mm,
that's when I
yep.
learned that forgiveness is for self. It's
Yes.
definitely not for the other person. So I'm glad that you freed yourself from that. And what I love about what you said is if I had to listen to the same thing 2 3 times a day, that's what I did because it was changing my perspective. It's like you put on your boxing gloves and you was just fighting it, like fighting the
Mm,
old perspective. Like, no, we're not going back there.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's work, but a part of me was like, man, I'm like, I want the really to be here for my family, and that's what really kept me going. Cause I'm like,
Mm,
man, I have so much on the table, and I'm like, there was a lot of times I walked with shame and regret
mm-hmm,
because I was um I was, addicted to, alcohol and things like that to numb the pain and, self harm early on. And it was just like, I'm like, man, I'm not proud of, that dark space I'm in. I'm like, how am I able to change, my mindset where I don't have to succumb to these things to make me feel better about myself. And, I really did dive deeper into my personal development journey, and it goes to show, like, when you put in, me putting in the work, on a daily basis without stopping, allowed me to really, thrive, and mentally in a space where I don't really get those thoughts anymore, thank God. And it's because of the fact that I'm constantly feeding my mind positive, affirmation, whether it's
mm-hmm.
video, because it's so important. Because the outside world will definitely do a number, and I can't really dictate, what the world will say or do when it comes to the way I approach my music and things like that, or other ventures. And I also have a say in how I, react to it, and how and the things and the systems I put in place in order to deflect some of those harsh, criticisms and things, because they're there. There's been a lot of shows that I have to, I had to, fight, so to speak, in the past, and even more recently, and I because I do the inner work, I'm like, you know what, it's all good, because at the end of the day, I still have my dignity, I have my integrity, and I'm not gonna settle for less than I deserve, and I know I'm worthy, regardless of someone thinks I'm trash or not.
Right. And I mean, it's a stranger's opinion on top of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like, and what are you doing? Why are you so busy trolling me? But let me not get
yes.
on my tangent about trolls. So for, so for someone that want to start their mental journey and start their healing journey, what advice would you give to that person?
Honestly, I would say seek therapy, and even if it's not a therapist, seek community, whether it's an online support group, or it's, a friend, wherever that community is, family, like community is important. Like that's one thing that I'm very adamant about is community, because I know community saved my life. Right, I wouldn't even be here without community. On to be the God honest truth, and being able to say, to put my pride aside, right, as a man, to say, hey, I need help. Hey, I'm hurting. I'm suffering. I'm suffering in silence, but I don't want to do this alone. That was really something that I had to really dig deep within my soul to say, there has to be another way. And, I'm like, man, it's kind of like that. My what my mentor used to tell me was that she gave me that visual of like the lamppost. You go into that lamppost and it's like one lamppost and you go to the other one. It's kind of like one step, one foot in front of the other type of mentality. And
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because it's like there's always, in my opinion, there's always gonna be another step that I can take, but I have to put in the effort and do it and take that first step. So that first step is like, hey, saying I'm not okay, right? Because it's okay to not be okay, and it's
Right.
also okay to get help. It's also okay to get help. And I'm a living testimony of, hey, 988, hey, I need someone to hold space with me, to just hear me out. You don't have to say nothing, and you could just be there as a support system, because I can't process what I'm going through by myself. And people have been receptive to that, and it's been like, hey, I'll hear you out. And that's been so helpful for me. So I say yes, community. I will also say changing your environment. I'm like, man, because sometimes there's been people, there's people who get into these toxic spaces, and they're wondering why their life is toxic. And it's like, and I've what I've been in certain spaces where certain people, and I'm just like, man, it's just toxic. And I'm like, for me, like, I had to change my environment. I had to you know okay, cool, so I'm gonna put the posters that say the affirmations. I'm gonna wear the attire that says I am worthy. Like I did all these different things. Like I was like, even though I was physically in a different environment, I put a different environment in front of me, even if I was in my own room. Because at the end of the day, it's like I can control what I put in my room and in my peripheral. Whether it's sometimes it'll be like something simple, like maybe a mindfulness card or something. I'm like, hey, it's something that could change my perspective when I'm not feeling like today's gonna be a good day because I'm overthinking. It's like all these different things, that's helped me, because at the end of the day, it's like I had to really find resources that I can tap into, whether it's physical resource or just like a resource of like a contact, so that I could not deal with those demons alone.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Having so even if you're in that space, you look up and it's like, oh, that's something positive. Oh, that's something positive. I totally get it. I got all of everywhere I look in this room, it is something positive. So I
I
totally
love
get
that.
that. Yeah,
Yes.
right here are affirmations, like right
Oh, I love
behind
that.
me. And there's a bunch of affirmations. So wherever I look in this room, it is something encouraging me every step of the way. So I
Yeah, I
love
love
that.
that.
I love that I keep it in my peripheral. So yes, that is very very helpful.
Yes.
Very helpful. So what things you got coming up in the future, Rich, that we should look
Yes.
out for?
Yes, I have this, so many interesting things. And for me, one thing is like I'm always coming out with singles, so always new music. I'm dropping a new single next month called I Don't Keep It to Myself. And that's a powerful record about the same thing we discussed, community, about saying, hey, I'm not going to be silent about my struggles. I'm going to talk to someone, and in hopes that I will be able to, be here a little bit longer, and not have to deal with these struggles alone. Because I don't have to deal with them alone. It's only
Mm.
if I choose to not call or reach out to someone, and that's on my being, my choice. And it was a song that I wrote because I'm like, man, that's all the times that I did keep stuff to myself, and I had the scars to prove that I didn't want to, that I dealt with it alone, and I didn't want to share some of my dark, suicidal thoughts. And now I'm able to, share that even in those dark moments, you know um there was people out there, you know that were willing to, like, just hear me out. And so I have more singles coming out about, definitely, about my mental health journey. I have, you know other things, that I'm working on, but projects. But it's definitely a lot of music to be looking out for sure, because I'm always working on um shifting, the narrative, especially when it comes to men's mental health, because that's so important.
Yes.
And we have this providing some, the men, a safe space in my music, that that it's okay to, cry. It's okay to, to have those, moments of vulnerability, because vulnerability is not a weakness. It's actually one of, my biggest strength. Is, for me, and I can't speak for other men, but for me, that's always been my strength, because that's been, helping other people find their power in, in their stories. So definitely looking forward to more music on the way, because that's definitely something that I'm going to keep consistently working on.
I love that. So is there a certain drop date each week, um or it's just, you say it's new music? Is it new music like on every, you drop new music on a Wednesday or Thursday or
Yeah, no, I'm a little bit sporadic with the
okay.
releases. However, once 2025 hits, I'm like a single per month. I've been pretty consistent. This month, one of my, um, you know, singles, took longer, also because I'm very indecisive. I have so many songs I'm working on at the same time, and sometimes it's hard to pick just, one single to, like, really, like, what really defines where I'm at mentally now. So that's the thing about me. So yeah, 2025 is like, it's on. It's like grind is like 2.5, because it's like, for me, that's like, you know my mission, for 2025, is to be bold. And part of being
Mhm.
bold is, the festivals. Like, I see myself in these festivals. I see myself in those, the Grammys. I see myself in all these big spaces, because I know I'm worthy of being in those spaces. And for me, my mindset is like, you know do a single a month, because for me, consistency is very important. So, and to constantly remind people, like, hey, mental health is something that shouldn't be talked about just once, you know one day of the year. It's like, no, that's it's like an everyday thing for me, with
Mhm.
mental health. So I want to always, put that in the forefront of, like, constantly releasing music. And if people really want to really be a part of it, they can join my email list, to be updated on my singles, which is richvision.com, which is RICHVY, like yellow, SION.com. And they can sign up for my newsletter, and they could get notified, so they can
Mhm.
keep updated on the singles as they drop.
I love that. That was the next question. Any other way that everyone can, oh wait, how can people purchase your book?
Yes, my book is also on my website as well, which is
Okay.
richvision.com. So it's RICHVY, like yellow, SION, like Nancy.com. It's also available on Amazon as well. So it's gonna be under, which is my personal name, which is Richard, C Ram, SEER, like Robert, A like Adam, M like Mary. The title of the book is From Victim to Victor: Transforming Trauma into Triumph. So from victim to tour, transforming trauma into triumph. It's gonna be under my personal name, which is Richard Searam, which is SEERAM like Mary on
Okay.
Amazon.com.
Okay, cool. I'll have the link to your website and to Amazon. So listeners, you can just, click the button, go purchase the book.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, yes. So at BYOK, we have a signature question. And that is, if you could describe yourself in one word, what would it be and why?
Yes, I was thinking about the question. I will say resilient,
Mm,
resilient because my whole life has been a fight. It has been a fight, and a fight for my sanity, a fight for my mental health. I'm even wearing my fighting for misfits shirt because I had to fight to change that mentality that I had, and to say no, I'm the CEO of my life. I'm a victor, and I'm victorious, and I had to really um you know put my foot in the ground and say, hey, I have purpose, and I'm meant for more. And I had to reaffirm some of the things that I needed to in order to stay grounded and level headed. So definitely resilient, because I had to fight so long to get to a space of where I am thriving in my music career, and seeing the fruits of my labor, because I've been able to just continue pressing on regardless of me sometimes not feeling like I should be here, but still fighting on to know that my music is meant to serve other people, and just remind myself that I'm always in service to other people, and it's not just for my own you know braggadocious right, so to speak, but it's for other people, and it's meant to serve. And that's really something that I really want people to take away from this podcast, is that that you know whatever you're going through, just know that it's for a moment, and that that you're here for a reason. So just continue to press on, and to continue to remind yourself that you are worthy, even if you have to say it a million times in the mirror. Because at the end of the day, there's no one who's going to validate you, but you have the choice to validate yourself, and you have the power to change your own narrative. Unfortunately, no one's going to do that for you. So if you're willing to get the help, and if you're willing to you know press on, there's going to be at the end of the day, there's going to be you're going to reap that positive um reinforcement, because there's gonna be people after you who that you're gonna inspire, that need to hear your message because of what you went through. And it's like, for at the end of the day, it's each one teach one. If you know you're struggling and you can help someone else with your story, hey, you don't know what impact you can have on somebody's life by just being here. And that's
mhm.
what I learned by me being here. I didn't know I was capable of saving someone else's life that I didn't even know.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I feel like you might drop the end of the podcast
Thank
episode.
you.
Like, I don't even know what more I can say to that. Rich, I just thank you for your story. It's powerful, and we definitely need more narratives like that, especially in the music industry. We need more narratives where it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the toughest in the room. That
Right.
doesn't really make you tough. It's your openness and you being honest with who you are and how you feel, that where the strength is, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I love that you are bringing vulnerability to the music industry, because it's definitely needed, definitely needed. And thank you for your time today. Thank you for reaching out. Like, I don't know, like this is a powerful story, and I love the tapping into community. um listeners, it is billions of people on this earth. Do not do it alone. Find
Yes.
your tribe. Find your tribe. And anything else you want to add before we close out?
No, you said it beautifully. Find your tribe. They're out there. If you're willing to seek them out, there's always someone who is, at the end, of at the end of the day, who's willing to, hear you out and, talk you off the ledge, because you're here for a reason. And I just want to remind you that you're meant for more.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. And listeners, don't forget to go to Amazon, check out the book, join the email newsletter so that you can keep up with all the new releases that are dropped by Rich. And don't forget to be kind to yourself, to be kind to each other. And until next time, bye.